So you can do it. You just need some extra permissions. It's like a special privilege that you get, and we're happy to share it with you. What nonsense. It had everyone freaking out. They were literally just flexing on the little guy. Good morning, investors. Bradley here from Watson Estates, and you're listening to the largest, fastest growing podcast for Toronto real estate on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Thank you for taking some time to listen to our show. We're going to make it worth your while as we dive into some of the incredible things going on in our local media, talking about the real estate market from an investor and a broker's perspective, because I want to know myself and I want to have some fun along the way. So let's talk about some of the things we're going to discuss. Number one, did TRREB just take the biggest L? Yes, they did. We're going to talk about how they did. And how does Toronto's real estate market stack up against a horny Canadian market? That's right, horny, not my words. That comes straight from a Better Dwelling article. And what does Canada's new economic relief plan mean for the post-pandemic economy? Lots of good things to talk about today. I hope you guys had a wonderful night's sleep. I know I definitely didn't. I got a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old kicking me in my sleep. My goodness. Trying to think of some kind of song to uplift me, like The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Classic. I got this sudden urge to sing now. I'm just a whim away. A whim away. A whim away. We're going to have some fun. Make sure you guys subscribe to our channel so you never miss another podcast, another show. And if you like our content, make sure you share it on Instagram. We're putting in a lot of work, and I want to make sure all of our friends around us know and have some clarity on what's going on in our market, because there's a ton of confusion. There really is. But there's nothing better than watching the Toronto Real Estate Board take a giant L, especially a few days back when we announced that they are kind of stepping on people's toes and going outside of the courts. So funny enough, it was kind of a footnote to our last show, but all of a sudden it is the top article as it relates to Toronto real estate. Here it is from thestar.com. Toronto Real Estate Board walks back questions about posting of sold data. So here's a little bit of insight on what happened if you missed our last show. The Toronto Real Estate Board clarified an earlier memo, which is what we talked about, that had some Ontario real estate brokerages preparing to remove older sold data from their website. Last week, TRREB issued a directive to brokers saying, this is what it was, this is the memo, that selling prices more than 2 years ago could no longer be published. Literally out of nowhere, they said that. But late Monday afternoon, we're talking yesterday, a second memo appeared to say the opposite. Although archived sold data would have to be made by special request rather than reach brokerages through TRREB's regular data feed, it can still be used in accordance with rules and policies, said the latest email. So you can do it. You just need some extra permissions. It's like a special privilege that you get, and we're happy to share it with you. What nonsense. It had everyone freaking out. They were literally just flexing on the little guy. And in the original memo, they said it was concerned about the unauthorized use and monetization of archived sold data by companies claiming to be unauthorized or authorized service providers to online real estate brokerages. People were abusing the system. And even industries who use sold data are saying the same. In fact, John Pasalis said, and he runs a brokerage called Realosophy, very much an online brokerage. He said most of the conditions for using the data that were stated in TRREB's email last week were legitimate. They were. From the outset, the sold data was only supposed to be used on websites that consumers needed a password to access. A lot of people ignore this, and that condition is still the case, by the way. If you're going to share sale data, you need to have a password to get access to that. You can't just blast it out, which is where people are taking advantage of the system, which is what prompted the response from TRREB. But in the list of rules around using the data, TRREB seemed to suggest it could not include sold data priced more than 2 years in the past. That was something new. Now, of course, we haven't had any updates from the Competition Bureau, who are the ones that struck down the notion that TRREB, they have access to data. Like, they've appealed it and appealed and appealed it. They took an L after an L, and here's one more for your trails, man. What an L. It's nice to see, because TRREB, they are strong. They are very, very strong. All right. Anyways, TRREB, they just see the writing on the wall at this point. They're just desperate. They're like the guy who, he's in his house, he's having a little sleep, and this guy breaks in, a thief. He starts going through and searching for money in his house, and TRREB's just gets up and starts searching with him. But it really is a win for the freedom of data for consumers. if you like to use websites like House Sigma, which I know I like to use it, I'm a licensed representative and sales rep or broker, whatever they call me these days, a licensed realtor dude. And I still like to use House Sigma. It's fast, it's easy. But of course, there's obviously concerns, and we talked about that in our last show. But anyways, all that to say, there shouldn't be any changes that happen despite all the craziness, and TRREB got a slap on the wrist. All right, let's move on to our next topic. How does Toronto's real estate market stack up against a horny Canadian market? This is PG, right? But it's not my title. Better Dwelling had an article. This is what we're reading from. Toronto is the second coldest market in Canada as the country goes house horny. Who comes up with these things? Here's what they say. Canada's overheated real estate market are showing some signs of cooling, but it's still very tight. Canadian Real Estate Association data shows the seasonally adjusted sales to new listings ratio fell in October. And this is what the article is going to talk about. The SNLR, sales to new listings ratio. Well, what is that? Well, it's a method of determining what's a hot market and what's not. And you go based on percentages, right? The number of homes sold compared to the number of new listings for sale. If you've got under 40, you're in a buyer's market. Prices will naturally come down. If you're between 40 to 60%, you're considered balanced. And if you're above 60%, you're a seller's market with most likely an opportunity for prices to go up. That is a hot market. So let's talk about where everybody stands. Who's the tightest? Who's the hottest of the hot? Major markets with the highest ratios are in Quebec and Southern Ontario. But before the Southern Ontario folks get too excited, just hold your horses. We'll get there. Oh, you Amish people down there. Oh, that's really awkward. Okay, Quebec City had an SNLR of 92%. 92%. There's nothing sitting at the end of the month. It's just gone. And Hamilton was second with 88.8%, which is down 10.5%. Remember, that's down month over month 10%. We're going to talk about how this all wraps into the article Better Dwelling is presenting. And then Niagara comes in third at 88.7, up 5% from last month. That one's going up. Crazy. Here's your top list, right? If we were just to look at who's got the highest SNLRs in October 2020, you got Quebec, then Hamilton, Niagara, Kitchener, Windsor, Halifax, London, Montreal, da-da-da-da-da-da. And the list continues until somewhere in the bottom, I see a TO right above Edmonton. We're going to talk about that. So where's Toronto, right? We're among the three coolest, not cool like sunglasses, cool like freezing cold with the snowstorm. The lowest ratios are in the largest market surrounded by two western cities. Edmonton has the lowest at 57. 57. Remember, 40 to 60 is balanced, by the way. That's the lowest. Greater Toronto is in second with an SNLR of 59.9%. Balanced-ish. I mean, but we're down, here's the key, 5.6%. We're going to talk about that. But is it any wonder, if we're on the bottom of the hit list, that condo owners have been getting the same amount of sleep as priests these days? None. And the way they go with this article, and I think it's fascinating, because why not? Because their assumption is even if you're up at 90%, an astronomical height, if you're coming down really quickly, there's still an opportunity for prices to be declining. That's their hypothesis. So let's look at the month over month, September to October. We have some very sudden changes that take place. Some noteworthy ones in Southern Ontario. Southern Ontario, here you go, horses. Real estate market was the fastest falling ratios are clustered in Southern Ontario. Ottawa is the fastest falling with a ratio of 77, which is down just under 12% from the month before. Hamilton came in third from 88.8 down 10.5, and London came down 9.6% to 85%. So they're suggesting these sudden jerks, these sudden adjustments are a leading indicator that, you know what, yes, you're in a hot market, but that's a very fast cooling that's happening. And so they point the gun right at Toronto. Toronto's ratio is down 5.6, lower than a month before. That makes it the fifth fastest cooling market. We cool like that. Take it for what it's worth right now, guys. Take it for what it's worth. And obviously, I don't like to sit on the negativity. I want to know what's hot. What's hot? If you had to hedge a guess, what would you say? Well, they say, according to the Globe and Mail, home prices in cottage country jump 15 to 40% across Canada amid COVID-19. The top place, by the way, is Gravenhurst. Gravenhurst is up in prices 45%. Whoo! Not a bad little return there, retirees. Run up to the cottage country. Not bad. Not bad. People like to run out to the Muskokas, I guess. There's something magical, in my opinion, of sleeping at the cottage. That's all it is. It's just so easy. I can do it with my eyes closed. Not like down here. The city never sleeps. All right, let's jump into some hot topics. Number one, thank you, FP on YouTube, for your comment. He posted a Fool.ca article called Housing Crash 2020, a 26% drop is warned. And it's not new information. In fact, there's one thing I did get out of this. Veritas, which is they have these models that they put out, and they said that between 5, 10, or 15% mortgage payment deferrals turning into inventory. We talked about this a while ago. What would that mean? If you have 5% deferrals, people selling and the inventory going up. Anyways, they expect prices to drop in Toronto between 15 to 26%. And the UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index cites Toronto as the only city in North America in the bubble risk territory. This isn't new news. This is old news, but the one thing that I get from this article that is fascinating is the last part, because it is an investment-based article. Rental housing leader. Since there's uncertainty in the housing market, investing in real estate investment trusts, or REITs, is the better alternative to buying real properties. And then they point to one, the Canadian Apartments Properties REIT is an ideal choice, and it's a vibrant residential market in Ottawa. But regardless, it's interesting to see, where is safety? In a volatile real estate market, the safety is in the apartment space. And that's very much why I am interested in it personally, right? I mean, and so these guys, they're not, with all the craziness in the stock market and all this, they're not doubling down on tech stocks, which is not really fair. I feel like they're sleeping on Jeff Bezos. Poor guy. Gotta put those pajamas on. Oh, that was so dumb. Oh no, I lost my notes. I literally lost my notes. Don't worry, we'll be back. We'll be back here, ladies and gentlemen. I got way too excited and I clicked off the screen. Now I got to jump back over. All right, let's move along here. So the safest investment right now, that if you talk to the markets, is in the apartment space. It's good for when the economy is good because prices go up. It's good when the economy is bad because people can't afford a house. Sound like a city you know? And so they're left to rent. And where are they going to rent? Apartment buildings. What a fantastic opportunity. We're always looking for JV partners if you want to get into big investing. You might think it's impossible, something you can dream of down the road, but don't worry, we'll show you how to do it. If you want to reach out, we can set something up. All right, let's move on to our next hot topic, the Globe and Mail. The first-time homebuyer incentive is bad policy. Interesting. Why is that? You guys remember the first-time homebuyer incentive? Government willing to give you, 10% of the mortgage in exchange for some equity. If it goes up, we'll share the growth. If it goes down, we'll take some growth. The program is limited. Here's a key factor. It's going to matter in a minute. To mortgages up to 4 times a buyer's annual income with a cap of $120,000. Here's the questions that you need to think about in your head as we jump into the scenarios, the explanations that they give. Question number 1, does this policy make sense given the government's stated goals? There are several economic questions here. Does this plan reduce home prices for first-time buyers? Does this plan increase home ownership? Is the plan equitable? Is this a, quote, free lunch in terms of taxpayer-held risk? And does this policy fix an economic distortion in the housing market? Our read of the economic evidence from similar policies is a qualified no on all accounts. Here are their points. Number 1, reasons why this is flawed. Number 1 is it pushes prices up because they're saying that the lower mortgage payments for all potential first-time buyers there's an income cap, means that there's more expensive cities. Only the condo market is cheap enough for this. So therefore, there's more pressure put on the low end, the condo space, which drives the pressure up, the prices up in those segments. Condo owners are like, hallelujah. Number 2 is home ownership rates. The subsidy is capitalized into home prices, and they did a study in the U.S. where they found that mortgage interest deductions, which is a very similar thing, it had a much larger and more broad-based subsidy, found near zero effects on overall home ownership. So the stats are saying it wouldn't actually improve home ownership. Number 3, the benefits the well-off, and interesting thinking. Remember the idea that it's 4 times your income? Well, that actually benefits people on the higher end of that bracket so from an equity standpoint, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And number 4, instead of the risk going to private firms in the form of a loan, it's going in the hands of the taxpayer. Does this all make sense? Very fascinating thing. Is that something that you want to be paying for out of your taxes? Well, you don't have much choice. So here's what they suggest. Their biggest point was that the initial policy of increasing the insured mortgages to 30 years from 25 years, that was their suggestion. And the poor first-time home buyers, they can't catch a damn break. Yeah, it's hard to sleep at night when the kids are pounding on my door. Quiet. There's no way I'm letting them out. All right. Speaking of locked away, there was an interesting story of someone who discovered $500,000 in old cash and gold. And Scott Ingram had an interesting poll where he said, if you found 500,000, is it finders, keepers, losers, weepers? 71% of them, this is based on 77 votes, said that they would keep it. New owner should keep it. There was 6% said the old owner should keep it. And then they should split it was 22%. So everyone thinks finders, keepers. The old saying stands. But interesting. Aren't we all finding $500,000 in our house these days? All right. Better Dwelling had another article talking about permanent residents. Another hot topic for you. Toronto's permanent, this is more of an update. Permanent residents arrivals in the quarter have fallen even further. The city saw 12,775 permanent residents arrive in Q3, virtually flat from the previous quarter. In fact, it looks like there's a little bit of an uptick, but nothing to write to grandma about. Really not that exciting. And you'd think that we were keeping them from coming at this rate, the way we were holding people back, despite what everyone says. I'm not preventing them. They're just enjoying the fresh air. That's my parenting style anyways. I don't know about you guys. I'm a little old school that way, I guess. I mean, we have this little game with me and my little girls. It's called the Eskimo Girls. Turns out that they're not Inuit. All right, let's get into our last and final topic. What does Canada's new economic relief package mean for post-pandemic economy? What comes next? We had a massive unveiling. Canada unveils its largest economic relief package since WW2. Woo! How much money are we going to spend today? $100 billion. That's it. Not bad. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland says it's the largest economic relief package for our country since the Second World War. The spending will bring a deficit to its historic $381.6 billion by March 2021. So this is going to unravel very quickly if it's by March 2021. Here's what they say. When the virus is under control, this isn't even during, and our economy is ready for new growth, we will employ an ambitious stimulus package. The spending will amount to 3 to 4% of Canada's GDP. Wow. Canada is preparing to have a leg to stand on after COVID, except with the spending so high now, the feet have fallen asleep. Totally comatose. So where's the spending going? Here's what they say. The wide plan includes targeted relief for hard-hit business sectors, a lot of that, investments in long-term care homes, and distribution of the vaccine. This I thought was interesting. They had where is it now? An additional listen to this, $1 billion directed to vaccine agreements. Canada has secured the most diverse vaccine portfolio. Forget the fact that we're getting it after everybody else in the world does. Canada has secured 7 different vaccine purchase contracts. That's enough for each Canadian to receive 10 doses free of charge. Overkill? I don't know. Don't you only need 2? I thought you need 2. On Monday, Ms. Freeland defended the record deficit as affordable. As we have learned, listen to this. This is the reasoning. She sounds like Trudeau. Same argument. Thanks to low interest rates, it's affordable, it's cheap and necessary. As we have learned from previous recessions, the risk of providing too little support now outweighs that of providing too much. We will not repeat their mistakes of the years following the Great Recession of 2008. So what are we doing? We are doing what the U.S. did in 2008. And are we happy with what came of the United States after 2008? Not to say it's the same scenario, but the fact that we didn't blow the bank in 2008 really is what set the tone for the success leading after the Great Recession. But why not just copy the U.S.? Because we never repeat the same mistakes twice. Note change ballot next year. I guess not next year. We're stuck for a while. But we're dying as a country. I guess you can liken it to World War II. Mom, I don't want to sleep with grandma anymore. But honey, you know we don't have enough money to bury her. So how are we going to pay for it? Right? That's the question. I mean, that's my question. I mean, I love to spend, but we got to understand we're going to spend something. Well, don't you kid yourself. They're already thinking of different ways of doing it. In fact, BNN Bloomberg released a tweet that says breaking. And I could not find more details on this. This came out yesterday. I'm interested to see what this looks like. But here's the teaser. Feds considering tax on foreign home ownership. And trying to figure out, does that mean we're investing foreign or investors investing foreign into Canada? I think it's the latter. And John Pasalis, this reason I say this, he says on Twitter, given that the regions in the GTA with the highest share of foreign or non-resident owners have also got the highest price to income ratio, I think this policy makes sense. This is an argument in favor of foreign ownership. It's very interesting to see a direct relationship in the percentage of non-resident owners in a city versus the overall price to income ratio. In fact, Richmond Hill sits very high and they've got over 4% versus a place like Orangeville has under 1% non-resident ownership. A very interesting little chart. All to say, maybe it's a valid idea. I don't know. But the point is they're thinking of ideas in order to, on the tail end of this, fix the situation, right? And what are some other ones? Permanent resident exemption, remove that. I'm sure that'll go over easy. Or a capital gains tax increase of 75%. I think that's a no-brainer too. These things are all going to happen. You think it's free money? Ain't no free money. If you think we'll be out of this with less taxes, you're dreaming. Reality is going to be a rude awakening, like the one I had this morning at 2:30 in the morning. Folks out here are dreaming. They're swimming in an ocean of fizzy drinks, but it's only a fantasy. I'm excited this week. I don't know about you guys, but Thursday I heard TRREB is releasing their stats. Let's see if they're going to pull back on that claim as well. Probably not. We'll be able to review those in our morning podcast on Thursday, but I hope you guys are getting value out of our show. I know my keyboard and I were losing sleep over bringing you guys the best content. We're working a double shift. So make sure if you're getting value, if you're learning some stuff today on our show, that you share this on Instagram, tag Watson Estates even, and put a smile on my face. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care and keep it real.